what do you call it, they don't have that.
Diana used to
ladies' business.
buy her work clothes there too.
And Dress Barn, I really miss Dress Barn.
Dear God, I was stressed, yes.
Yeah, me
Oh, right
too.
now Tickery Farm, by the way. No, the ladies section that is my size, when I was in Kohl's the other day, it included jeans, cold weather jackets, and t-shirts with the word Wrangler on them, and workout clothes.
Yeah.
No like real normal clothes.
Right.
Every
Well,
day, I mean,
Yeah.
one or two, but pretty much, and I'm just kind of standing there like,
Maybe
Well, this
someone
is
took out
weird.
the harbor or something, I don't know.
oh, yes, it's just like when you go into Home Goods. I went into Home Goods on the 6th. They had the Valentine stuff out.
Oh, no.
Well, it's because they're just putting out whatever they get,
Yeah.
and I understand that. Oh dear. It's just
T-shirts with the word.
You know, I used to like going with Diana Dress Barn over there in East Bell. The reason is they had a area for the husbands to sit with a bowl of York peppermint patties for us to chew on.
Oh, there you
So-
go.
It's like, okay, you go shop, it doesn't take that long, I'll
Yeah.
go sit over here, get my game out on the phone,
Yeah.
or something, and
Yeah.
eat some peppermint patties.
We're
So
good.
what's not to like, right?
Exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah, that is. Good business practice for them.
Because I mean, everybody's.
You there, Bob?
sitting in
You
this
okay?
area.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect.
Yep.
Very good.
You don't have a landscape maintenance inspector, is that because,
Actually, that position now is
The,
the irrigation specialist, irrigation, what's his name? Irrigation something.
irrigation technician instead of landscape maintenance
Yes.
inspector?
Correct.
Okay.
In fact, that was the original position that our current maintenance manager had.
Right.
And then when he was promoted to that, we did not refill that position.
Gotcha.
let's see here. You can't see my screen yet, right, Bob?
No, I cannot. Let me see. if-
Prompted to update my Zoom and they changed some things around, so.
I do have access to the agenda, though. Did you just do that?
I just did that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can't change. Now I can see it.
So, did anybody else here get an email from the IT guy at the county supervisor's office? Or was it just me? You know how they send out those things, accept or decline or whatever for their meetings? And typically I decline them because it's during my workday. And they showed me a screenshot where for some reason I decline it on almost a daily basis. And the guy wants me to call him. They sent it to my parks email.
From who, who's it from? If they were forwarded to me, and I will have ABSS look into it.
Yeah, they have a way of, white lips.
Paul Lance, user support technician with the Riverside County IT, supporting the Riverside County Board.
So do me a favor, forward that to me and I'll forward it to ABSS and have them look into it.
All right.
Every now.
Make sure it's legitimate.
Yeah, that's.
Have we heard from Edgar?
Well, I mean, I texted with him like yesterday. But not today.
He did leave a phone number. He said, when you have a few minutes, could you give me a call to discuss how to clear this? And he says it's only affecting people with iPhones.
Weird.
I have my work email go to my phone and I get it.
I don't know, maybe something to invite.
Sounds like it's just you, Ross.
That's why I always like to,
To be suspicious, so that's good to verify.
Yeah, well, I don't know where Edgar is. It's up to you, Mr. Leisure, if you'd like to
no idea where he's at.
start. I know he knows of the meeting.
Well, no, I just didn't know if you had heard if he's just running late or.
It's just 5 minutes away. Okay.
But it's on track.
Oh, he might have tried to come up that way too.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start the meeting and then we can just,
We have a presentation tonight, so.
okay. All right, I'll call the meeting of the Hoover Area Parks and Recreation District order at 6:31. And since this is my last meeting as president, I will lead the pledge. That we, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have roll call, please?
Yes, Jose Luis Godinez.
Present.
Edgar, absent at the moment, Ross Leisha,
Here.
Rebecca Redorte Byrne.
Here. And Kim Gerald Johnson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have a presentation this evening?
We do have a presentation this evening, and where you at, Anthony?
He was back at the end.
All right. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony. For those of you that don't know me, I am the coordinator for the Rancho Aruba Sports Park over off Crestmore. So tonight we put together a little bit of a fall recreation recap to kind of highlight and put a spotlight on some of the past programs that we've had in the fall months. So I'm ready to move along. So the first thing we wanted to highlight is the adult basketball league that we just had. It concluded in September. It was a 9-game season that spanned from September on through November. There's actually a video as well. I don't know if it'll play. A little bit of a clip to give you a little live look at what the action looked like. So that's the whole clip right there. That was one of the playoff games that took place November 17th. There was 3 playoff games in total, and ultimately one team won it all. They got a nice trophy. It was like maybe 2.5, 3 feet high. They loved it. Everyone that participated absolutely was raving about it, and they're all ready for the next season. So
I can share with you that video was later in the season.
yeah.
Because at the beginning of the season, I kept harping on Anthony. I said, Anthony, you need to post some adult basketball videos on social media. That'd be great. He's like, Kobe, I keep taking video on there, but nobody's making
The first 3 weeks or so where you can tell that they were laid off from COVID. They hadn't played in a while, super rusty. So like I told Kobe, I was like, Kobe, I'm trying to get footage, but nothing is post worthy. So yep, that's some adult basketball. So after adult basketball, we transitioned into youth basketball, which takes place starting in December. We actually just had our skills day. This photo here is from this past Saturday, the 4th, where we do an evaluation of all of the participants, just to kind of get an assessment of where their skill level is, so we can place them on teams as evenly as possible. So this season is what we consider another COVID season, meaning that we did cap registration at 4 teams per division, composed of 10 players per team. So it equates to 40 players per division. We have an I division, which is these guys right here. They're 6 and 7-year-olds, first and second graders. Then we have a C division, which is 3rd and 4th graders. B division, which is 5th and 6th, and then our A division, which is the oldest, 7th and 8th graders. So we have a total of 15 volunteer coaches at the moment who go through a live scan process, get fingerprinted, all of that good stuff before they're approved to get on the court and begin coaching their teams. So practices will be beginning this upcoming Monday, and they only practice 1 day a week, as we kind of only have 2 teams practicing per hour, just to limit the amount of kids that are intermingling with each other in case we did get a COVID outbreak during the season or something like that. They're not exposing themselves to the whole entire program. Seasons past, we would have 4 teams practicing in the gym per hour, so we cut it in half. So that pretty much sums up the youth basketball portion. Nestor is going to go ahead and touch on Market Night, which has taken place over the past few months since they've been at Skyview.
Good evening, both members of the board, staff. I'm Nestor Machado, Recreation Coordinator over at Skyview Event Center. As Anthony mentioned, the past 3 months, we've been hosting Market Night. In the month of September, we started off with 21 vendors, and we had roughly over 300 people show up, which I would call a success for being the first market that JRPD has hosted, especially at Skyview, being the newest facility. For the month of October, we jumped up to 40-something vendors with an attendance of over 1,000 people for Market Night. The way I know it was over 1,000 people, it took over 20 minutes to find parking at Skyview. It was outrageous to the point where people were parking on the curb, people were parking on the empty fields, they were parking in places they were not supposed to park as well. And it was a very great turnout. We had live music that day as well. And like I mentioned, we had over 1,000 people show up, to where last month, for the month of November, we had over 60 vendors show up for market night. I'm happy to say that it has been a great success, a great event thus far, and we are only expanding and getting better. Every single day I get calls from vendors, from the general public, asking, when are we doing more? Can I become a vendor? And it's gotten to the point where we have to cap how many vendors we have at market night, just because of the spacing that we are dealing with. We will be having an upcoming market day this time on this Saturday, December 11th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. A little bit different. We are capping it to 25 vendors only, just because it will be posted simultaneously with the Breakfast in Santa event. And there will be no food vendors at this event, as we want to encourage the general public to attend Breakfast with Santa for those that have already pre-purchased a ticket. For this market itself, it'll be 25 vendors. It'll be holiday themed items, as for anyone that's doing last minute shopping for Christmas, or just frankly does not know what to get someone for Christmas, come on down. And those are to see great ideas from all of our great vendors. We'll be taking a break in January due to the post-holiday season, the cold weather, and resume back in February with our regularly scheduled market night on Tuesdays from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And all the dates for next year have already been lined up. And according to the schedules, we're both around Skyview and then any events that JRPD will be hosting.
And to wrap up our recreation recap, just wanted to touch on Spooktacular. I know many of us have already been briefed on that already, but just to kind of give a quick overlap on it again, we sold 973 wristbands, which was a great start. It's the first time that we had an in-person actual event at Rancho Aruba for Spooktacular. Last year was a drive-through event, which honestly went well for what it was, but this was an actual full-on event where the public was able to come out. Many of you attended, which I was able to see. I was over at the laser tag area, in case you didn't see me, a little bit off in the outskirts, but there was about a total of 3,000 people, give or take, that attended that event. There's definitely still a ton of opportunity and room for growth, especially at that facility, as we have multiple fields that can be utilized for many different things. So I was very happy with the way this event turned out, has plenty of room to grow, and we're excited to see where it can go in the future. There was also 6 food trucks and vendors that were there, 25 volunteers, which are all numbers that we're looking to hopefully increase for the following year. So that pretty much wraps up everything for Spooktacular that we have. And those were pretty much most of the main events that we had for fall here in the recreation department.
Any questions?
No, I want to thank you for that, the details that you just shared with us. Of course, it was my first time with any event like that, and I heard nothing but positive, and I felt positive.
Yep.
Having teamed up with the rest of my colleagues here to judge the costumes was, I mean, it was actually fun.
Yeah, I'm glad. Absolutely. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. It was a great event. We got a ton of good feedback on social media, in person, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. So for those of you that attended, thank you as well. So.
No, it was, I was there that night. It was a fun event. It's always a fun event, and it's fun to have a new facility to do something like that at. And it does have a lot of potential for growth. The only thing that's going to keep us from growing any bigger than we can is the parking.
Right.
That's always the limiting factor.
Right.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Are there any plans of moving market night to different areas on different nights?
At the time, not at the moment. The only time the market night will essentially expand to different areas is during our Concerts in the Park series. So while those will be hosted in the summer months, we will invite some of our market night vendors to the Concerts in the Park series. So that way we reach out to other portions of the district. But because of the vast enormity that market night has grown into, the Skyview parking lot has become the ideal host site for market night.
Yeah, and I was kind of puzzled, and I'm just sharing in terms of I kind of saw the growth going on, and I thought as it got bigger, it just became kind of like, can I see everything? So I don't know if you're thinking about, maybe we'll do 30 and maybe there'll be a happy medium number as opposed to 1,000. It's nice to have so many, but I think people were just kind of walking around and couldn't grab enough stuff, so might be something you might think about,
A
you know.
feeling of being overwhelmed.
Yeah,
with
there you
needs
go.
of
I think
vendors.
that
Absolutely,
was, that's
absolutely.
the term.
And that's where we're planning on capping it, just making sure we have a wide variety of vendors that
Right.
sell a wide variety of items. And that's why the application process is very competitive, because it goes to review through not only myself, but other staff as well, to make sure that we're all covering each end and making sure that we have a good variety of vendors for the public.
What do you think if you had to say to yourself, as Kim just said, there's room for growth? What comes to mind as that is shared with you? What aspect of that would you think to go into, or is that too premature to ask right now?
Oh, I've been wanting part of farmers. Market.
Well, I guess.
If I could jump in and maybe assist here, one of the things that Nestor has relayed from the vendor aspect that we're hearing is it's very well organized. They appreciate the fact that we are sensitive to not be overloaded with everybody selling the same items. You know, as to where other markets, it's a first come, first serve concept. So you go in there and every single person's selling the same thing, and there's not the variety there. And we are looking at, you know, I think we're basically, we've hit our max for vendors. You know, we can't exceed that. We don't have the room in the parking lot. We have looked at other opportunities across the district. The only other facility that would be large enough to host something would be the soccer park. But that's so busy with soccer, it's kind of it's a catch-22 for us there. So that's why we're looking at taking, you know, kind of on the road with our concerts in the park. We'll scale it back a little bit, but we'll still have a good number of quality vendors there to spread the wealth. And if it's something that we get a great response on, maybe it's something we will look at in the future of how can we do this.
I guess
Some other
specifically,
facilities.
if I could interject, entertainment. I mean, would entertainment be something you might think of in the future, as we're talking vendors, but not actually an entertainment piece there?
So we had a live band for the second market night, and it did an excellent job in drawing in the crowd. However, the biggest complaint I received from vendors is the music was too loud.
Yeah.
It was far too loud. People couldn't make any conversations with the vendors whatsoever. So we had to scale it back down and just play background noise in the third market night. However, for the upcoming one in February, just find something as simple as just someone playing background acoustical music where it's, you know, background noise for the most part. And I think that would suffice, and try to bring in a crowd as well. But I think the live band did a great job in attracting a crowd, but unfortunately it was just far too loud for the vendors.
Yeah, my neighbors were kind of sharing that with me. I was liking it because I wasn't right there, but I couldn't hear the music. Thank you.
So since we are reaching a high amount of vendors, are there any plans for like a loyalty program? Or do you think that would be a good idea?
Most certainly, we have a list of vendors that have been with us from the very first one. We always give them consideration to be one of the first ones to sign up for additional markets as well. And we're also on a rotating basis with the food vendors to make sure that we're not being repetitive every single market night and having the same food vendors.
Well, that's a good idea.
Awesome.
So as long as you keep the cinnamon roll going.
Oh, yeah.
I still haven't tried it, it sells out every time.
I keep telling him, you have to quadruple your quantities, so.
When you get there, make that your first stop.
I will next time.
And very quickly, if I may, I think this would be appropriate time here. You guys have both had the opportunity now to meet Anthony and Nestor here. They are two of our newer team members, but they're doing a phenomenal job. But I want to take this moment here and put Nestor on the spot. Tomorrow, he finally gets to walk and get his master's degree from Cal State Seminary. He completed a year ago, but they keep just dangling it in front of him. So we are very proud of him, and I wanted to recognize him for that tonight.
So yes.
Very cool.
congratulations.
All right. They're sticking around for more tonight, so.
We'll be
Thank
back.
you.
All right, thank you, Jim. Okay, that moves on to item 3, public comments. Do we have any public comments this evening? Have you emailed in?
No.
Great. Oh, and let the record show when you arrived at 6:37. On item 4, which is the consent calendar, would anybody like to pull an item from the consent calendar? Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
I second.
Do we have a motion to second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, that moves us on to board action items. Item 5.1, which is the update of the personnel manual. Can we get a staff report, please?
Yes, Mr. President, this is an item that is being brought forward from staff as a request to update our personnel manual. It really is just a logistics issue. Right now, our current pay period runs Wednesday through Tuesday. And our pay week runs Wednesday through Tuesday, and our pay period is 2 weeks long. The pay week would end on Tuesday. Time cards are due that following morning, Wednesday morning. Need to be processed and submitted to our payroll company for our payday, which would be a Friday, which happens to be tomorrow. As we've grown with more and more employees, it's just making it more and more difficult to ensure that we are getting all of our time cards received and processed in a timely manner. If there's any hiccup with the time card for whatever reason, primarily with our part-time staff that we need to have adjusted or clarified, it can be challenging with many of them in college or something like that. So it's just getting harder and harder. So one of the things that we want to do is switch our pay week to run a typical Sunday through Saturday. That would end the pay period on Saturday. Time cards would basically do Monday morning, but we'd still have until Wednesday to have the processing complete so we can submit to our payroll processing company in a timely manner. Take a lot of stress off of Maryland and Loretta, frankly, and even the supervisors.
And then they would get paid on Friday.
And they still get paid on
Same
Friday,
Friday.
yeah. So all it does, it's just moving some dates around to take a lot of headache off of staff. And what really compiles it is, this year is a perfect example. Thanksgiving Wednesday was when payroll was due, but because of the holiday, we had to do it early. It makes it not a fun day for Loretta, to be nice. So by changing this, it just can make things a lot easier on staff, a lot less stressful on our supervisors, making sure that they are able to process payroll in a timely manner. And that's what we have before you tonight, if you have any questions.
Sounds perfectly doable and good for everyone.
That makes sense.
I will add, I somewhat deliberately left a start date off on this because we don't know exactly when the best time to actually make this happen is going to be, but it will be sometime the first part of January, most likely.
I'm sure your payroll department vendor will let you know on that.
Yes.
The concept itself is well explained.
Then I move the board of directors approve the update to section 507 of the personnel manual.
I second it.
Motion is second.
I have a comment.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to mention to the board something I mentioned to Mr. DeWitt earlier, which is, of course, when they're shifting it around, at some point, there's going to be a pay period that probably has less money in it and a pay period that has more money in it. No one's going to get shorted any money, but you see how that works. I worked at the county when this happened one time. And so I was just pointed out that they need to give, give advance notice, and there has to be some way of dealing with them, if the short one comes, and that's when I pay my mortgage and all that jazz. So we have to be sensitive to what our employees' personal situations are.
Having worked with payroll companies, they certainly take that into consideration and would share that with you. I mean, I've experienced it many a time that would change similar to what we're doing, but they certainly are very aware that if not, then you obviously.
No, exactly. We don't want anybody to be caught off guard.
Yeah.
And we'll give them plenty of notice.
Yeah.
That was all.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moves us on to item 5.2, which is the annual and 5-year reportable fees report for fiscal year 2020, 2021. Do we have a staff report, please?
That's exactly what it is. It's our annual 5-year report for our AB 1600 fees. Basically, this is a recap of what we collected in the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021, what we brought in and what expenditures we made. This is something that is prepared by the firm of Koppel Grubel, Public Finance. Unfortunately, because of travel restrictions, they were not able to have anybody with us today or on Zoom. They're actually physically flying right now. But Loretta is well versed in this and will be able to answer any questions if you have anything.
Okay. Questions from the board? No?
Nope, be straightforward.
Okay. Nobody has any questions? Everybody's read this, so, can we get the motion, please?
I move the board of directors adopt resolution number 2021-53 approving the annual and 5-year reportable fees reported for fiscal year 2020-2021 in compliance with government code sections 66006.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion second, all in favor?
This will be a roll call.
Oh, so roll call, okay.
Okay, Jose Luis Godinez.
Aye.
Edgar Castellano.
Yes.
Ross Leisha.
Yes.
Rebecca Redoorte Burns.
Yes.
Kim Gerald Johnson. Aye.
Okay, this one I got some reading to do here, so,
I can jump right in, Mr. Leisha, if you'd like.
yes, please, item 5.3.
Yeah, so this is the update of our recreation fees. This is something that has been brought to the Recreation Facilities Committee for discussion. They did recommend this be forwarded to the board with a couple clarifications they wanted to see here. Primarily, the changes to these fees are affecting Skyview Event Center and the Ranch Rupa Regional Sports Park, and that's why Anthony and Nestor are still here this evening. They're gonna present those fees and go over them with you. But really, the reason for these changes and updates and recommendations have come out of our experiences operating these facilities right now. Either loopholes or just the way people would like to use the facility for different activities and timeframes and stuff that has driven these fee structures. So we're gonna start with Nestor just because it appears in the structure here first. And let him kind of go through the report.
Am I supposed, before we do that, it says here, I'm supposed to announce, and
We
then
can do
staff
that.
will make the report.
Yeah.
So I am calling the agenda item for the Root Area Recreation and Parks District Services, charges and general fees. Now,
Mr. President, members of the board, as Colby mentioned, in the 6 months that Skyview has been open, there have been some loopholes and frankly, just some non-accommodations for members of the public when it comes to renting the facility of Skyview Event Center. One of the largest ones that I see is we do not have a set minimum hourly rental for the facility when it comes to a weekday, such as Monday through Thursday for both community groups and non-resident and nonprofit groups. Staff proposed that we have 2 fees for renting either the full room or half room for a community group at $100 an hour for the full room and $60 per hour for half room. For nonprofit and non-resident organizations, staff proposed a rental of $125 per hour for full room and $85 per hour for half room. And again, this is on the consensus that the facility must be rented for a minimum of 4 hours to ensure that not only building costs are covered, but staff costs are covered as well. For a private rental, some changes that staff have proposed is posting a 6-hour fee, or 6-hour rental fee for a Sunday rental. In my experiences of overseeing the facility for 6 months now, when it comes to having rentals itself, there's only been a handful of inquiries regarding a Sunday rental whatsoever, which means we are not only limiting ourselves on hosting rentals, but also losing out on potential revenue because the current fee structure proposes only a 12-hour rental for the facility at $2,000 for the 12 hours. With Sunday being usually a work night for Monday, if people really don't want to be out late, they want to be staying till 10 o'clock at night partying and have to go home and get ready for the work week. Staff proposition is to have a 6-hour time block or a Sunday rental at half the cost of the $2,000 that is proposed currently on the fee schedule, meaning that this would be $1,000 for the 6 hours, and cleaning and security deposits remain the same, insurance costs plus 20% remains the same, as well as the application fee of $25 remains the same. Simply just makes Skyview more appealing and more accommodating to the public, allows renters to have the facility for 6 hours instead of a total of 12 hours, which makes it more easier for them to host an event there at Skyview itself. Additionally, it is proposing changes to the cancellation fee by only 1 day for the most part. So currently, the proposed schedule says that cancel 90 to 60 days prior to the event date, you refund 25% of the hold fee. Staff proposed that we refund 50% of the reservation hold fee. Additionally, if canceled 30 to 59 days prior to the event, refund 25% of the rental rate, excluding the reservation hold fee. And lastly, instead of, if there's 30 days or less of a cancellation notice, there's no refund, it is 29 days or less in order to accommodate and be consistent with the new proposed schedule of fees. From there, 50% of the rental rate must be due 60 days prior to the event date instead of the current 30 days prior to the event date in order to accommodate the new schedule of proposed fees. That is all I have for the changes for Skyview Event Center.
I have.
So I'm sure, I think it'd be easier if we just dealt with the set of changes first for Skyview before Anthony steps up. So if you had questions on that, I understand this. All this last part here on the cancellation policies, and it can be a little overwhelming here. It really has to do with because we are becoming so popular at the facility there. And our operational costs are based on the revenue, why we have to put these into place. And these really are industry standards and talking with other agencies. It's very similar to what most other agencies are doing. So with that, myself, Nestor would be available. Nestor's gonna have the answer, not me.
Well, I do have some questions. I have dealt in actually looking for different venues as a director of human resources. So I'm going to defer that everything that you said is something that you've already researched and know that we still will be competitive. Because that really was the idea, is to be able to say, come to us, we've got the best price in town, that type of thing. So am I assuming correctly that you're saying what you're saying because you saw that, wait a minute, we can lessen the cost, get more input from people coming to us? Is that what I can assume to be that you've researched out?
The assumption is correct based off discussions with other local and nearby agencies and frankly, very popular facilities such as the Diamond Bar Center. Additionally, it's not necessarily lowering the cost, but also adding more options for the rental of the facility, which would bring in additional revenue for the facility.
Oh, forgive me. Yeah, as Chloe said, I was trying to keep up with, okay, we're, the days of which the deposit has to be in and all that. So I'm just going to give you one question at the end of this. If that certainly is what has been done, and I was pretty sure it was, but I did want to hear you say that. Because yes, I've heard, and I've actually brought different individuals within my industry to say, this is where you could really have a small group, a large group. It's going to be, competitive. The pricing is there, but I wasn't really sure because I hadn't done the research, and you said, and I feel comfortable with that.
Yes, but yes, your assumption is correct. Yes.
Thank you.
After a few months, are you able to come back with some data showing how the changes have affected the revenue at Skyview?
It's all based off the calendar book and inquiries. Frankly, the calendar book that I have that comes to reservations is all Friday and Saturday rentals. We've had 2 Sunday rentals thus far in the 6 months that we've been open, and a handful of inquiries for Sundays, but the caveat being renters don't want to rent the facility for 12 hours on a Sunday because they have to go to work the next day. And partying on a Sunday for so long, they just want something for.
What I meant is, if we make these changes, are you able to come back after that?
Oh, absolutely.
And show us?
I can show the operational costs and what the difference has been with adding the Sunday at that half-day rental, and show the additional revenue that it's generated since the opening of Skyview and since the change, if approved, has been made.
So basically, the objective is just to get more people to book the venue on Sundays.
It's just being more flexible, adding a 6-hour option along with both the 12-hour option that will generate more revenue for us because it becomes more attractive for the general public.
My question is, because you said you do it 4 hours of your time, on the other days, and then you've gone from 12 to 6. Are people, or have you run across this yet? Let's say 12 is too much, 6 is too little, they want to go 8. Do you have a way for people to tack on it like every hour you can have like an additional fee if they want to go somewhere in between? Or do they have to go in blocks of 4, blocks of 6? You know, do we have that option, or do you think that would even be a consideration at some point?
It would certainly be a consideration at some point in the future, specifically for the Sunday, whether if it's a 6-hour block or a 12-hour block, like you mentioned, if someone needs it for 8 hours. We can most certainly offer the 6-hour option and tack on the 2 additional hours at a certain rate.
But regardless of what day or what blocks or what hours, I think it'd be advantageous to at least have it broken down to an hour, you know, or something. So if somebody did want to do something, you would have those numbers available and that option available to them. If the goal here is to present more options.
We do have that option, don't we?
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
We have the
All of
ability.
our facilities.
We're not gonna, you know, the reality is on a Friday or Saturday, the 12 hours is, you know, the reality is we're having some issues right now, making sure people leave on time. So
Okay.
the second part of this will be coming forward in January, will be a revised use policy. That will address some of these and put some penalties in place for not leaving on time. But in regards to the 6-hour time frame was based on the request that Nestor's getting. You know, the discussion I think we had at the facility use committee was a baby shower. You know, time they come in, you set up, decorate, you have your party, and they clean up and get out of there. It's a 6-hour,
Yeah.
you know, it's not we're not getting people coming in and having a wedding or a reception on a Sunday, but you're getting a 50th birthday party or an anniversary type of thing that's not as luxurious, not as detailed and typically, starting at 2:00 and, they want to end at 6:00, the people leave and they're cleaning up for an hour or two. That's what we're getting. But if we need to add an hour or two here and there, we have the ability within the fee structure to do that. It's just not, it's not happening often.
Also, as you were speaking, I thought of something. Is there something in place like a survey, how did you like our facilities, what can we do better, that type of thing? Do you have something like that going on right now with those that are using our facility?
Yes, I personally reach out to every single renter on the Monday I come in, post event, whether it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even if it's a weekday event, and we have them mention what can we improve upon, what can we do better, and I get a good amount of survey posts that.
Well, actually, what I was looking for is, when we've done our duty and gone on, that others can look back and say, we got a survey, we had a survey, it's documented. If that was put in place, if it's not too much trouble, I think it's valuable. Much like any presentation, we put together, could I have done better? Could the screen have been larger? Could there have been more chairs? Whatever that is, we all call it a takeaway. So if we could put something like that, I feel comfortable that we're really getting that in writing without, going face to face with them. Just at the end of the day, how did it all go for you? Would you come back to us again, that type of thing?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
We also have Yelp reviews that we've had to do this for.
I don't much look at Yelp. I'm sorry, maybe I'm one that doesn't, because when people are unhappy is when they get on there, not so much when they're happy.
How are we doing on Yelp, by the way?
It's coming along. I've had a good amount of hits thus far on Yelp and Google reviews as well, so.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
The rental refund for cancellation, now that applies to anyone and everyone, including nonprofit groups, right?
That is correct.
Okay, because they have to have their act together as much as anybody else. And you said, if someone rented it on Sunday for just the 6 hours, the insurance is the same.
Correct.
The insurance is the same for 6 hours as it is for 12 hours?
Correct.
Why is that?
No, it's not. The insurance is never the same. That's why we have the 20%, is it 20% markup?
20%.
So when you were to rent it for your party, and it's actually now a new online system that just started literally this week, right? You have to go and put the details of your event. If it's a quinceañera, it has a different rate than a bar mitzvah. If it's a business meeting, it's a different rate than a wedding reception. So it's not the same. And they take into consideration the length of it, the age of the party, if it's a party for a 50-year-old versus a party for an 18-year-old. It's all the insurance industry and
Whether
they're,
there's alcohol or not.
there's no alcohol, yeah, so
Sorry, I misunderstood your question there, but yes, it's all different. And that's where all the input information, it can be classified as a class 1, a class 2, or a class 3. It's all dependent on the type of event,
Gotcha.
the amount of people at the event as well, if they're having live entertainment, if they're having
the time of your
time of
event.
the event as well. All of that are factors that are taken into
All
consideration.
right. Now, if someone wants to, let's say they've set it up 8 months from now on whatever day, and then 7 months from now they want to move it, you're not gonna penalize them.
No,
Okay.
they're still within the proposed 90 days
Okay.
of change, of leeway, I should say, for change.
Gotcha, okay.
So they're still paying the cancellation fees even if they're just rescheduling?
No, they're not paying cancellation fee if they're rescheduling, as long as it's more than a 3-month notice.
But if it's,
If it was something we had to cancel, say for a COVID situation, we're not charging
We're
them.
not charging them.
But if it's within 90 days and they want to move it, you're still gonna charge them.
Correct.
Okay.
any more questions on this portion?
All right. Thank you, Nestor. Appreciate those more questions, so don't run. And the second part of this would be Anthony in regards to the Rancho Cucamonga Regional Sports Park. And so.
There we go. Okay, so Mr. President and Board, upon review of our tournament application, we realized that we did not have a cancellation policy in place if a user group canceled a tournament. Meaning they could reserve a whole tournament for, let's say, a 3-day weekend. They go along with it, and then say a week before they're scheduled, they can bail out with no penalty at all. So we realized obviously that is flawed, because if we're given that sort of a notice, we would have difficulty filling that space at the complex, given that most groups would probably find other places to play. So what I have here is a proposal for different cancellations upon different timeframes on what type of penalty that group would receive should they cancel a tournament. So we could start here at the top and work our way down. So obviously the top of this page here would be a very short notice cancellation, 15 days before a reservation or less. That would mean that they would lose their whole security deposit. In order to get your tournament reserved, it requires a 40% down payment of your total cost for that tournament. So for example, if a user group is renting fields 1 through 4 for a full day, which is our hours of operation are from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., that would be $2,800. 40% of that amounts to $1,120 lost should they cancel with that short of notice. The next time frame would be cancellations made between 29 and 15 days prior to the reservation. That would be, one thing here. Cancellations 15 days or less, they lose all of their payments, which would be their deposit and all of the payments made upon that. So they lose everything at that point should they cancel that short notice. Now, if they make a cancellation between 29 and 15 days, they lose 100% of their deposit, which would then be the $1,120 for that given time block. So the next block would be cancellations made between 44 and 30 days prior to the reservation. They'd be losing a total of $280, which is 50% of their deposit. If it's that amount of time, it gives us enough time to find other groups to potentially place back at the complex for those days that were previously reserved. So going down again, cancellations made between 59 and 45 days prior to the reservation, they would lose 10% of their deposit, which would amount to $112. Cancellations made 60 to 89 days prior to the reservation would just be a 5% penalty of their deposit, which would just be $46. And then if they make any cancellation 90 days or more in advance, it's just a $50 processing fee, because that's ample time for us to find other groups to fill that space. So with that being said, that's pretty much the given window in which we feel would be enough time for us to make any type of adjustments to groups coming in should a group cancel a tournament.
My question to that, like anything, when you pass, not such good views, it depends on who delivers it to that person, that they understand, these are the reasons for and why, we're not the bad guys kind of.
Right.
Are you prepared for that kind of delivery? And
Oh, absolutely.
and I'm sure you are. The next one, what prompted you to feel that, there was a flaw? That were you having activity with people not fulfilling with their reservation?
Right, so we had pretty much a conversation take place with a group that wanted to do a tournament, but they were a little bit on the fence about it. So they were inquiring about it, but they needed to still lay the groundwork down for getting it going. And she asked me, what if I reserve this tournament date? What would happen if I'm not able to get it up and running? So then that's when it was raised to my attention, well, what would happen? There's no cancellation policy put in place. So that's when I brought it to the recreation manager's attention, and we kind of put together this policy here that we're presenting in front of you, should that situation arise. So really it started with that conversation with a particular user group, and I saw that there was no policy in place. So that's what sparked it.
It was good. It was a heads up as opposed to it actually happening too many times.
Exactly.
I guess that's where I was going. It happened too many times. But when your ears were open to that statement, thank you for that.
Right.
One of the things that we've learned very quickly here, we all understand youth sports are great, but they can also be very lucrative for some of these tournament companies out here. And we have a lot of people wanting to kind of jump on the bandwagon. I could do that. I could run a tournament here, And I think that's kind of where this came from with this conversation that Anthony had. We have some reputable tournament companies that we'll be dealing with and have booked a couple of stuff coming up this coming year here. And we don't want to discourage an upstart, but at the same point, we need to understand, we expect them to be a professional organization, and we are one as well.
And that was my point. So you clearly explained that. Thank you.
How far in advance do these tournaments typically get booked?
We require that they at least get booked 4 to 5 months in advance. We do allocations quarterly, meaning every 3 months. We allocate space to a variety of different groups in which they have all of their dates reserved for that 3-month window. So doing it 4 to 5 months out in advance gives us the freedom to kind of give them what they please as far as space, because it's all available since we do book in those 3-month increments.
But we have people looking at Memorial Day weekend already.
Yes, we have a tournament booked for President's Day. We have a tournament booked for 4th of July. Those are the 2 that are currently in place. So President's Day is already right around the corner, February, March timeframe. So.
And these are usually single day tournaments, or they're usually span?
It depends, honestly. It fluctuates based on what that particular group wants. The President Day tournament is actually a 4-day tournament. So it goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So that's the biggest one that we currently have booked. One of the ones in June is just a 1-day tournament. So it honestly just depends on what type of demand there is at the time. So.
I had a question. So may I assume that rarely would you, for example, have someone book fields 1 through 4 for only half a day or 7 hours, as you put it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? I mean.
It does happen more often than you would think, actually, because sometimes there's organizations that just want to have like a summer day camp where they would just use the fields from, say, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then after that, they have people coming from all surrounding areas and they still have time to go back home. So it does happen quite often, actually. But like I said, it just kind of depends on what type.
Especially during the summer months, they want to start at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Be done by 2
Okay.
before it gets too hot, yeah.
Or exactly.
And truly, if we canceled 31 days out or 30 days out, which is the 3rd one down, we really would have time to get somebody else on that field. Because like the half day, if we just take the first one, $1,400. So 40% of that is $560.
Correct.
So now they're only being penalized half of 560, so that's 260, what? $250, $260.
Right.
It's not a huge penalty for having left us in the lurch 30 days out.
Right, but also there are groups that will be losing field space as a result of that tournament. So they'll be left looking for other facilities to accommodate their needs. So a lot of the times other agencies or facilities will also be booked because they kind of do a similar thing where they book 3 months out. So we can go back to them and give them their space back that they would have normally been using had there not been a tournament. So
Okay.
Anthony gets calls on a weekly basis.
things change,
Hey,
yeah,
you have something open for me?
I was
I just
about to
need,
ask
you know, I
that.
see an hour here, an hour there.
daily,
It's,
daily, so.
And that's a good thing.
Well, I just want to make sure that we were not shorting ourselves too much there and that we really could get.
Yeah, that's one thing we considered as well, but given the fact that we do get calls so frequently, we felt that as though it was ample time for us to
Okay.
find, to fill the void that they would be leaving.
Because you really are our PR person, if you will, so it's your tone, your delivery, your follow-up that certainly makes this a sure thing, for them as well as ourselves. So thank you.
Of course.
So I won't be having a problem booking.
I don't see it being a problem, honestly. Within that window, we should have plenty enough time, given the amount of volume and traffic that we get in requesting field space. So,
Nice.
Any other questions? Okay, in that case, I will open up. These are the public hearings in this board's proceedings for the Root Area Recreation and Park District services, charges, and general fees. The public hearings are now officially open. Is there anyone here that wishes to file written protest? Any property owner or any registered voter within the district may file a written protest. If so, they must be filed with the board clerk now.
No.
None? Okay, we will receive comments and questions and any oral protests from any interested persons. When all comments have been received, the hearings will be closed. Okay, there are none. We will now, the public hearings are now closed. And I'm not supposed to ask board clerk, have we received any written protest responses?
No, we have not, Mr. President.
Okay. We may now consider and adopt the resolution 2021-54. And I'll make the motion. I move the board of directors adopt resolution 2021-54, a resolution of the board of directors of the Root Area Recreation and Park District adopting the updated fee schedule. And we have roll call, please.
I need a second.
A second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now we have roll call.
And Jose Luis Godinez,
Yes.
Edgar Castellan,
Yes.
Ross Lasia,
Yes.
Rebecca Major Tabor,
Yes.
Kim Gerald Johnson. Aye. Thank you.
Reading and just going along. Sorry. Okay, that will move us to, I believe, 5.4, which is the agreement for redistricting services. We have staff.
I jumped over one, my apologies, Mr. President. Yes, what we have in front of you is the agreement with Cooperative Strategies. You guys can kind of- They've had a long day.
Thank you, thank you.
With Cooperative Strategies for consulting services related to the redistricting of our divisions here within the district. As you guys are aware, this is something that is required after the release of the census data every 20 years. I'm sorry, every 10 years. And obviously, because of the pandemic, it's been delayed. The release of that data did come out in late October of this year. Finding a consultant has been a challenge. I will not disagree with that. But Cooperative Solutions has submitted a proposal to us. They've come with great recommendations. They primarily deal with school districts, but they do a lot of other municipality work and special districts as well. Our redistricting maps are required to be submitted to the County Register of Voters April 15th of this year. I'm sorry, 2022, this coming year. What they proposed is a two-part process here. The first step is they take our current maps, they overlay the census data onto it. And if for some reason we're in compliance, which means there's no more than a 10% gap over the division with the highest registered voters and the division with the lowest registered voters, as long as there's no more than 10% gap, we're in compliance. According to the law, at that point, they would write us a letter, send it to the county board of supervisors, to the county register of voters that says they're in compliance, they stay how they are. The reality is, we all understand because of the growth that's taken place primarily on the west end of the district here, over the past 10 years, it's probably highly unlikely. With that, that's when phase two, part two would step in. I'm sorry, the first phase is $7,000, the second phase is an additional $15,000. That's when they actually take those numbers and start going through and essentially creating new maps. They will present 3 maps for discussion. And basically within those 3 maps, we'll say, we like this, we don't like this, we want to see this, how about that? You know, public input would be accepted, board member input would be accepted, things along those lines. They do have what they take into consider existing member residency. So their goal would not be to, if boundaries changed and you lived in this division, the goal would be to keep that still within your division. They cannot guarantee that, but that's something that they take into consideration. The other thing that they will take into consideration, and it really comes into play more so with schools and trying to equally make sure everybody has ample schools within their division. A little more challenging with parks because there's more of them. You know, we have, we're at what, 34 facilities right now. We have a lot of them out of the west end, a lot of smaller ones. So it may not be something that we can evenly divide up, you know, 34, ideally everybody would have 6 parks and 6 or 7 parks. It's just not gonna happen. But you know, some of the challenges we have right now, you know, especially like Division 2, that up until recently only had 1 facility and no playgrounds. Those are things that we could obviously try to avoid. Again, there's no guarantees with that. The other kind of caveat that we don't have a choice of, frankly, is they will conduct their portion of the meeting via Zoom. Just because they are so overloaded with these processes. I know in dealing with them between now and April, they had something like 500 public meetings they needed to attend. You know, 2 hours of transportation each way type of a deal for a meeting. It just really limits them and they're able to spread their services out. So with that, I would be available to answer any questions you may have. I know Mr. Owen will be able to chime in as well on anything relating to the law on this one.
One thing I want to point out on 1C, it says attend virtually and present at a meeting of Board of Education.
Oh, yes, that was a typo.
I know they do a lot of
Yes.
school
It'd
work.
be the board of directors, and we
Okay,
would update. That was 1C.
yes. I guess I have a question. So there seems to be no opportunity for the board to make any input before they create the first 3. Or the first maps.
The first draft.
Yeah, so that kind of surprised me. I would have thought that there might have been some opportunity for us to mention some things we thought may work or may not work, so that they have some sense. I mean, they don't know our community from Adam.
But I thought you said it was based on population, and a lot of factors that they have to bridge it.
Right. Yes, but that doesn't mean they can't find out.
If there's something you want to share, I would be more than happy to pass it on to them as part of the process.
All right, I just,
Yeah.
for some reason, I thought that would be part of the process, but
I wish I had a better answer. This is my first time dealing with this.
okay.
I
mean, maybe that's not the case. Maybe you don't ever get the opportunity to talk ahead of time, but I just thought for some reason they would want our input before they,
Well, I guess that's a good question, Kim. I guess the rest of us would be inclined to say whatever that might be, then.
I can definitely find out for us, and if that's something that we can have maybe a kickoff meeting on, I will find out.
like I said, if that's not what normally happens due to the various, like Rebecca was talking about, the various issues that they have to deal with, then fine, but I just was surprised. Because they wouldn't know where Belltown was versus where Sunny Slope was versus where anything else was.
If you if I could chime in for a moment, I would suspect that that's entirely legal and appropriate, and you could do that. My suspicion, and I don't know this, but my suspicion is that they are so busy that if they did that with all 500 of their clients, that they would be mired down in preliminary meetings rather than putting together 3 options and saying, how do these look? Which one do you like? Just a suspicion, but.
And with Bob saying that did spark something here in, he did mention something along those lines, not necessarily in regards to that question, but with their school boards and their cities, they tend to get a lot of input based on geographic locations from the public. They try not to make any assumptions ahead of time, is kind of what he was going on. He ought to caveat, he did say, when it comes to special districts, park and recreation, water, rarely do they end up with public comments. So we're not quite the hot topic of a school district would be or for a city council. So that may be why they don't take that ahead of time, but I can definitely get clarification for you.
Well, I would appreciate that.
Yeah. And we will have time because this process will not begin until it looks like February right now. And we'll have still ample time to have it completed prior to the April deadline.
Do you know how many hearings would take place?
Up to, I believe it was up to 3. Was this part of the agreement? Let me scroll down. I have so many numbers floating in my hair, I don't want to misquote it.
I just don't want them to go to all the trouble of making 3 maps and then we all look at it and go, you've got to be kidding me. That's not gonna work. So, it just seems like.
Yeah, up to 3 different proposals to the presentations to the board.
Remember, they're a consultant to you. They're a contractor. It's your responsibility to do the divisions. So they're exercising their expertise on your behalf as a contractor. So
this proposal has up to 3 revisions to bring back. If for some reason within those 3 revisions, the board can't come to a consensus, there would be an additional fee. It's not that they're not going to do any more, but that's what's covered in this proposal.
Is there a reason it's only 3 maps? Is that just their?
I think that's their starting point, I relate that to when we did the Horseshoe Lake Park design, they came with 3 original concepts. And then from that, we said we like A, B, and C. We whittled it down from there. We're obviously nowhere near the Riverside County that just dealt with
Oh, Lord have mercy.
20-some revisions, and it's a much more defined area. I think just from their expertise, 3 is the good starting point for an agency of our size. It'd be great to hit the nail on the head the first time, but we have the ability to work within those parameters, and you'll see again that 10% number from the division with the most registered or the most residents to the lowest cannot exceed 10%. If you look at the city council right now that's going through it, their latest rendition was 10.1%. Well, it doesn't matter. It has to be 10 or less. So they have to tweak stuff. The other thing that we did talk about, they will take into consideration in the formation of these within that 10%. We know there is a lot of development going on right now within Paradise Knolls, which is a significant number of individuals. We have Shadow Rock that is growing rather quickly. North of that will be Rio Vista, which will be large large residents coming in over this next decade. They will take that into consideration, but it's not something that they have to factor in. So, if that's, the example would be maybe they're in the middle. They would want to consider how many potential residents would come for future maps, just so it doesn't throw everything way out of whack again, that we have to throw the current maps out the window and start over again. But it's not something, we can't count what's not there, but they consider what's coming.
So just so the rest of you know, this was one of the things I desperately wanted to happen when I first got on the board, because we have never redistricted in the entire history of this district. We have never had a new redistricting map. And it's just obvious that things have changed. The other thing, and you may feel differently. The other thing that's always driven me nuts about our map is Mr. Castellan's district, because I feel like it did not bring together communities of interest. And because it goes from here to here in this little narrow band, and it just seemed to make no sense. And the other thing I think that's important, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but you know, when I leave my house and I go to the freeway or I go to the grocery store, I'm driving through my district and I'm seeing things and da 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 da. I don't know how you could do that, because you're never gonna drive through Belltown for any reason unless you purposely drive through Belltown. You go to the freeway, you're hardly driving through your district. And I think that needs to be fixed. And I mean, I don't want to create a huge issue in order to fix it, but I think that that to me is the biggest issue that needs to be fixed. Is putting the communities of interest together a little better than the original map for this district did. I really don't understand what they were thinking. Oh, we'll just do this. From one end to the other.
There was probably very little population in that area when they districts.
Oh, I know. I mean, I can't even imagine. So I just.
Well, I think we're open for a real experience, you know, based on 3 maps, but based on what's happening in Colby, that we'll be able to, and thank you for mentioning the art consultant. So I think we do have a last word somewhat, but
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be an experience for all of us.
I just don't want them to start with the map we have and do little adjustments and go, oh, they should be fine. And it's like, yeah, maybe we need to fix some things. I think there were some things that were not done right with that original map and we need to fix. This is our opportunity to fix them. Hopefully we have that opportunity. If not, we don't. So that's why I'm like, what, we don't get to talk to them ahead of time to let them know what might be.
Yeah, no, I think they will. I think we will. I'm feeling confident.
Any other questions or comments? We have somebody motion, please.
I move the board of directors approve the agreement with Cooperative Strategies for consulting services related to redistricting in an amount not to exceed $22,500 plus authorized reimbursable expenses, and authorize the general manager to sign all related documents with the request that 1C, with the addition that 1C be on the statement of work be.
I second that, yes. I second that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we will now move on to 5.5, which is some housekeeping there, excuse me. This is my last meeting here as the board president. I would like to thank everybody here for making it a very easy year. I know considering it was COVID and all the other things that went by, and half of it was on Zoom. It was interesting, but it is time now to move on. And in the order of things that we have under our bylaws, that would mean that Mrs. Byrne would be president starting next year, and Mrs. Johnson would be vice president. As long as they're both willing to accept these positions.
I accept.
Okay,
Accept.
but we do need to get a nomination for secretary of the board.
I would nominate Mr. Godinez.
I second that.
He's never second something so quick.
We have a motion to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? No? Okay.
Do we actually have to vote on that, or it's just? on the
It's a
vote?
nomination, the process,
I'll
yes.
say, oh.
The assumption is Mr. Godinez does accept that
Oh,
nomination.
no, I meant on the present vice president, do we have to actually vote on that
No,
one?
because it's in our bylaws.
I got it.
Oh,
That's why
I
I said it was in the bylaws.
Okay.
Okay,
That was quick and easy.
quick and easy. Now it's on to item 5.6. Discussion and possible move the district employee salary schedule. We have a staff report, please.
Yes, this is the 5th year we've been doing this in December. As you're all aware, California elected a new minimum wage law back in 2017 that increased at $1 per year up until the $15 mark, which we will hit in 2022. So what this does is this adjusts our part-time salary positions. To reflect that range of raise in minimum wage. Not saying that the state won't enact another law that raises minimum wage down the road, but this keeps us in compliance with the law. with that, in front of you, you have our current fee structure that was requested as well as the proposed here. I will say that it's the other caveat that is being recommended here by staff is our typist receptionist position that currently is at $16 an hour. And I felt it was appropriate to increase that based on the duties and work being produced by that position, raising it to the $17 rate. I will say that there is funds in the budget to support all of these merit increases. We've gotten quite good at frankly estimating it. This is our 5th year doing it now. That we're comfortable with the budget's gonna be able to support this.
That's what I'm confused about is that every position's salary schedule has gone up, not just the ones you mentioned in the staff report.
So, so here's the, I may have printed you the wrong one. If you remember back as part of the budget, when we approved merit increases for all employees in July. That took effect in July.
But that shouldn't affect the salary schedule. That's a merit increase.
No,
That's
it
not
was, yes, but it changed their salary, the salary rates at that time.
Okay, because I got 2021 here.
I think I gave you the 2021 that was adopted last December. I don't think I gave you the 2021 that increased the full-time employees back in July, and that is my
So you gave us.
error. The part-time staff was not affected in January, in July.
Okay, because I guess, because 2021 right here, for example, administrative assistant accounting technician. Step A is $16. Over here, step A is $21.50.
Yes, that is one of the positions that was
Okay.
changed in July.
Did we change the deputy general manager in July?
Yes,
Okay, so we changed everything.
every full-time position changed in July.
Okay, so this is not right then.
No, that is incorrect, apparently, but it is correct for the part-time positions. The part-time positions did not change.
Okay,
So in this afternoon's chaos, I must not have brought the most current version to you.
okay. So park maintenance, part-time seasonal. Here we go. You're proposing they go up to $18 an hour?
That's where they're
from
currently at.
14.62?
That is the one part-time position that did change in July. One of the things that the Budget Personnel Committee wanted to see was that maintenance person is a maintenance person is a maintenance person discussion.
Yes.
Right.
So that part-time maintenance person was paid just above minimum wage. We brought it up to the maintenance one
Okay.
level.
So we're talking recreation aide, recreation leader,
Correct.
senior recreation leader,
Yes.
all of those.
Yes, they're all recreation positions with the exception of the typist receptionist job title.
And those are just all gone up the $1 an hour.
No, they did not go up $1 an hour, so
Yeah, they do.
they did go up $1 an hour, yes, you are correct. It used to be, back when this started, our recreation aide was minimum wage. Our recreation leader was $1 above that. Our senior recreation leader was $1 above that. The decision was made about 2-3 years ago by the Budget Personnel Committee that step progression could not be maintained. Our recreation aide would have been making $15 an hour. Our rec leader would be making 16. Our senior rec leader would be making 17. It was not something that we could financially sustain and keep our costs of our programs within check. So that's where we went to the 15, 50, 16 steps.
Okay. The lifeguard, are you anticipating that going to be hard to fill or something? Because that's going from $13.58. That doesn't even make sense. To $16. What we did last year, though, I think on that one was that since we did not increase that to what it should have been the prior year.
We just
because
started them above the,
13 was below minimum wage.
Right, right.
So we started them at like a level C or D. And so that should have been our A position.
Yeah.
But we didn't bring it back to the board at the time because we were in the process of hiring and had to publish our wage schedule.
Okay,
And the reason the lifeguards start at 16, which would be $1 above minimum wage, is the training they're required to have prior to us hiring them.
Okay,
So they're investing in their career essentially, and that's why they're being compensated.
okay. Just want to make sure I understood.
I'm a little at miss, so if I may ask a question, because some of this came prior and now we're at the merit. My question is, do we have a salary survey that supports this dollar that we do? Do we have a comparison? How is it that we come to, you mentioned one there, I think we said no to that, went from 13 to 16. It was just a little confusing to me.
So we do compare with the other agencies for our part-time staff. And I'm gonna be honest, one of the biggest things that we have right now industry-wide, that we have just workforce-wide right now, is getting people to apply for positions. I know in a conference call I was on about a week and a half ago, that was the number one thing that, the general managers and park and recreation directors were talking, is trying to attract employees right now. And literally one of the presentations given to a city council by a department head was, right now, we're trying to attract recreation staff to work in our programs and blah, blah, blah. But they can go down the street here to the local Chick-fil-A that's currently paying $19 an hour,
Correct,
plus a free sandwich every day.
correct.
How do we compete with these?
That was my next question.
But at the same point, we would love to be able to pay our employees that. It's hard to justify, because our number one goal in public recreation is to be able to provide safe, affordable programming. And as we increase salaries, the only way to offset it is by adjusting our rates and our programs. And it's just something that
Yeah, it's
nobody wants to do,
right, I understand. It was just a question. I'm not concerned, it was just a question.
And I'll be honest, it's gonna be something that we may have to address sometime next year. We are starting to see a return of applicants. I'm not 100% comfortable at our staffing level right now, but we are getting more applicants, on a regular basis applying for jobs. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Well, what I've said is, and I've shared this with Mr. DeGwitt, is I think we need to push why this is it might not pay quite as much, but it's better than working at whatever.
Well, yeah, you do want to be the employer of choice, but it's what we put out there that says that we are, and we follow through with. So I was just a little concerned when you said 13 to 16, I bet we're going to, now maybe it's too much, not enough, or confusing, but I think you clarified that.
Yeah,
And part of that was, I think, the lifeguards, because they hadn't been adjusted because of COVID. We didn't run a program in 2020.
Right.
So.
Questions? Comments? Okay. I'll move the board of directors approve the 2022 district employee salary schedule.
I second that motion.
Do we have a motion to second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right. Move on to item 6.1 now, which is the general manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Couple things to share. I've been trying to do the best I can of informing you guys, unfortunately, of vandalism that we've been incurring here as of late. It is obviously very frustrating, not only for the board members here, but also for staff. I can share that we have relocated some of the cameras at Horseshoe Lake, essentially putting them right on top of the playground. And since that's happened over a week ago, we've had no vandalism at that facility, which is, again, that's why I'm knocking on wood here. I did share with you the vandalism took place at Memorial Park over the Thanksgiving weekend. Those doors should be going back on tomorrow. That's just been a supply chain issue, getting some of the hinges and stuff like that, aren't as readily available. it's something we're working on. And I did not share with all of you, but yesterday morning, staff came into Rupa Community Center to find 3 windows busted out again that we had just replaced about 4 weeks ago. Yeah. So we're gonna be working with our alarm company and see what we can do to. Yeah, I see you shaking your head and then we're just as frustrated. It's.
Well, but the cameras should show them going under, no?
Yes and no. If they come up from, the backside here and through and it's, they can get through RT Arena to the backside of the Rupa Community Center there. It's a, the cameras deter, they do not prevent by any means. There's just no rhyme or reason to it. That building has been there since the 70s. Miss Whitney has worked for the district here for 30-something years. And to her knowledge, she does not remember those windows ever being broken. And it happened twice within a 6-week period is just, doesn't make
Wish
sense.
it was replaced with something bouncy, so when they hit it, it would bounce back and hit them.
You'd have to legally put a sticker.
Oh.
saying
Yeah.
that.
Caution, you will be hit by your own thrown object.
Yeah.
So, but I want to share some good stuff with you because I feel so often or not, my general manager reports are downers. We talked about 6 weeks ago here at a board meeting, we had started a turf renovation at Clay Park here. And you remember I shared these pictures with you and the guys literally went out there and took the rototiller on the tractor and just tore it up. This is what the park looked like. And frankly, we were tearing up weeds and dirt, whereas it was bare. We had to get down to the good soil. And it was a lot of the park, as you can tell from these pictures here. But yesterday was the first mow of that facility since we did our overseeding. And again, as you can tell, we did a lot of tearing up there. But this is what Clay Park looks like as of today. These pictures were taken this morning.
And you're saying that's grass?
That's
Wow,
grass.
That's exciting.
It's a novel concept. Clay Park hasn't had grass in quite a long time. This right here, this picture is over towards from the basketball court, I believe, looking across the park there. You can see tire marks from the lawnmower, something you only saw in dirt before. I am extremely proud of our maintenance department. This is something a handful of our staff kind of took a personal pride in. I was very pleased with how respectful the residents were. Matt, one of our maintenance guys that many of you know, has worked for us for a long time. This is one of his parks and a number of residents have stopped him and saying, can't remember the last time there was grass here. So I'm very pleased to be able to share these pictures with you guys this evening. So
Thanks.
this is where we're at. So I'm very pleased about that. The other thing I just want to throw out there is Saturday is Breakfast with Santa. It is completely sold out. We are moving to a larger facility, being at Skyview. So we kept registration as it had been in the past at Rupa Community Center. So it's somewhat, that's how we're managing COVID. It's a much larger facility, but we're keeping a smaller number. So we're confident that we're gonna have a successful event, even keeping social distancing policies and rules in place. Also, youth basketball, as Anthony referred to, did sell out. It is starting this coming week with practices and games will start the first part of the year. So we're excited for all that stuff. So if you haven't done it yet, you've got a great decorated house, please enter it in our holiday home decorating contest. Otherwise, I believe on Monday, we'll be releasing the maps of all the houses that are entered. I would encourage you guys to drive around, check them out, vote. We have some very creative and very festive people here within the district. It's always fun to go and see. Other than that, we are winding down the year's activities. If you are free tomorrow at the senior center, I believe 1 to 4 o'clock is their holiday dance. And they can cut a rug. So go out there, check that out, have a good time. It's I was talking to Debbie today and she's just so excited about it. Just a big old smile because she knows the seniors are excited about it, because the seniors are excited about it, she's excited about it. So a couple fun things coming up here. So please, if you have the time, swing by, say hello. Staff loves to see you. patrons love to see us, so thank you. With that, I will conclude my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the general manager? Okay. Move on to board comments, and I'll just read down the list. Mrs. Johnson.
Oh, I just wanted to mention that disappointingly, I will be out of town on Saturday and I will not get to go over and see Breakfast with Santa. It's one of my favorite events and I'm sorry that I can't be there and see all the excited kids and everything, but I know it's going to be a great event and I think it's great that we're being able to move it into a larger facility. And the other thing I want to mention to the board is that I have, through my research about history, uncovered someone who may be River Valley's only battle death in World War I. We have a Briggs Street here in River Valley. It was named for his father. Anyway, this gentleman named Briggs died at the age of 22 in a battle in Belgium. And so I'm going to do the paperwork so that he can go on our memorial wall. So I don't think anybody would complain about someone like that being able to be on the memorial wall who died in battle. So I'm very excited about that. And that was it.
Okay, Mr. Godinez.
Honestly, don't have much to say, just now that we're wrapping up the year, had a lot of fun this year. And I'm really thankful that we're, moving in the right direction together. And I just want to thank everyone, staff, at Parks, the board, for helping me out personally, helping me come to this position as a director. And hopefully we can keep on chugging along.
Mrs. Berger.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that I'm going to be entering into big shoes here. Thank you, Rossi. You mentioned that I will be taking over as president. I see him as my ally that I can call on. He's already given me some ideas. As you said, it's been an experience this year, a welcome one in my family. I've enjoyed it. I've shared it with my grandsons and hopefully they will be as community involved as I am trying to make an example of friendships that are built here, real meaning to where you live and the people that live around you. Can I share our award or?
Yes, please.
I attended yesterday and I felt like, geez, this is so wonderful. And forgive me that I don't know all the names of the award, but what it was is, please explain it so I can explain it.
The American Public Works Association.
Gave us an award for
Horseshoe Lake.
Horseshoe Lake,
Right.
which was our first that we met each other in terms of like, this is a beautiful place and who all made this be? Well, I met the two people that were very much part of the landscape, and the young lady, Allison by name, shared how she enjoyed what she was doing and how she was doing it, and the fact that we were now receiving an award due to the fact that it was such a good job. They were friendly people, and again, expressing that everyone that you meet in doing what we're doing in these positions seems to have the same goal in mind: be involved, care for each other, care for the community. I also attended a webinar explaining the president's position. And, it was a consultant that Colby aligned me with, and again, more information as to what it is that you do, Ross, and others that have been president. There's just so much significance to your position and how you do it and how you leave and say, I'll bring you along, whomever fits that position in the next year to come. So there's just a lot of exciting things that happen in our meeting as we give up our time here and then become a family, if you will, an extended family. So again, I thank Colby because everything that was said needed to be said. The consultant did say he wanted to carry more training such as this, whatever it is that we think we need to make our jobs better, our jobs, as I say, don't we know it's volunteer, but for the people. So I thought, geez, I'm gonna write down what it is that I think that training is all about. So it was a good hour and a half, and a lot of us didn't want to get off. We wanted to hear more information. Tell us what we do. Tell us how important it is. Tell us how to resolve conflict. Tell us what are the best practices. So it was hearing from them that really got me started to be with Colby the next day and just go on and on. So again, nothing but good things to be said about this year that we've served. So happy green to everyone and your families. Thank you again.
Thank you. Mr. Castellan.
Yeah, well, first, it was great hearing from Nestor and Anthony earlier on the presentations. Good to hear that report on that market night and spectacular are going really well. It's a really good reflection of what we're doing here in the parks, and also with Clay Park, just seeing it so green, look really good. Also, my commendation to you and the staff for that.
We got more planned, just so you know.
Yeah, it's great. But also, yeah, just reflecting on this first year, it was great serving with you all as well as the secretary. I second it really fast because I want to be the one of the ones to pass out to Mr. Godinez as secretary. But thank you to Ross as well for serving as president. And looking forward to Ms. Byrne and Ms. Johnson for leading the board next year. So yeah, that caps off my comments, and I'm looking forward to next year, and happy holidays to you all.
Well, thank you all for the kind words. It's been an experience being president, especially during COVID. I've especially liked seeing 3 new board members and seeing how you guys have really come into your own over this past year, from people that would barely speak a word when we first started to really getting involved. And I think that's fantastic, and it's only going to grow. Rebecca, I'm sure you will do a great job as president. It's been a joy, and it is the hard work of staff that has made it a joy to be the board president this past year. So thank you, and thank everyone else in staff. And that's it for me tonight. Okay, so we're gonna worry about committee meetings next year, or?
Yeah, I hope to be able to have a parks planning meeting. Unfortunately, with Paradise Knoll, some things have come up that I've had to send plans back for some questions. And I don't think with the holidays coming up, we're gonna have something before the holidays to meet. So, but I would also like to, the first of the year, schedule a park maintenance and safety meeting. I think with everything going on district-wide in our vandalism, I think we need to sit down and have some discussions, and I think I'd like to have a workshop with the board in early January and get some input and some ideas of what, if anything, we can do to help protect our facilities and the residents. So,
Mr. President,
Yes.
I think one thing we need to remind everyone, since some people have not done this before very much, is if you have specific committees you're interested in, you should let Ms. Byrne know, because she's the one who sets the committee assignments for next year. Lucky you, if 5 people say they all want to be on X. But, if there's particular committees you're interested in being on, like, ones you haven't been on this year, you want to switch to something else, you get a different perspective on something else. But you need to let her know if you have something.
so what we'll do is we'll send out the list of committees to everybody, and that'll be kind of your trigger to send an email
Okay,
or a phone call. And
okay.
I've already put in my request.
of course,
He's ready.
Well, there's only 2 committees I have not been on, so those are the ones I'm hoping I can, expand it. And before I would like to close, I would just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you.
And with that, I will close this meeting at 8:02.
Almost over. I know. Where did it go? Okay, I'm gonna do a couple of signatures.
all right, Bob, we're all good?
You guys are really good. That was, didn't have any questions. Superior.
We try. Perfect.
Are you getting rain right now?
Am I getting what? Rain? No, not quite yet. Today was a beautiful sunny day, and it was probably 55 degrees or something like that.
We got rain. You're right here all day, on and off.
I wouldn't call it rain.
What was that?
Wet.
It was.
I call it rain.
You have no idea what
It
you're.
wasn't what was promised.
It was
was
Yeah.
like, the backyard was raining, the front yard was not.
All right.
Actually, it is helpful now that we're not.
Thank you, Bob. We'll talk to you soon.
Rain here is different. Very good. Have a good